He stood up from the couch and collapsed. No warning, no dizziness, no chest pain. Just fell. His wife thought it was a stroke. She screamed, called the ambulance, held his hand, whispering, "Stay with me, stay with me." But it wasn't a stroke, not a heart attack either. Doctors said one word she'd never expected to hear: thyroid. A tiny gland in the neck, smaller than your thumb. And yet, it almost killed him. The man wasn't sick. He didn't drink. He walked every morning, watched his salt, took his pills, did everything right. Except one thing. His thyroid had been screaming for help for years, in whispers: dry skin, fatigue, cold hands, a bit of swelling. Hell. Weight gain. He thought it was age. Just slowing down a little, but slowing down turned into crashing. Because hypothyroidism doesn't shout. It murmurs. Until one day, the murmur turns into silence, and the silence into darkness. Here's the terrifying part. It's not rare. In fact, if you're over 55, the risk of hypothyroidism triples. And in women, it's even worse. It sneaks in after menopause, when everything else is changing too. Why am I tired all the time? Why can't I lose this belly? Why do I feel foggy? You blame stress, you blame sleep, you blame the years. But what if it's not the years? What if it's not your fault at all? What if it's something so small you could fit it in a teaspoon? And what if you could help it heal? Not with pills, not with surgeries, but with food. Simple, natural, ordinary food. The kind of food our grandparents ate without thinking. The kind that speaks the same language as your thyroid. The kind that whispers, "You're safe now. I've got you." Because here's what most doctors won't say. There are foods that feed your thyroid and foods that fight it. There are breakfast habits that make things worse and tiny changes that turn the ship around. This isn't about diets or trends or counting anything. This is about choosing life from the inside out. So, if you've ever felt slower than you should be, colder than makes sense, more tired than feels fair, don't ignore it. Stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, we're going to look deeper, and you might just discover that the solution is already in your kitchen. Let's begin. Her name is Lydia, 67, retired music teacher, white hair tied in a soft bun. Still plays the piano every morning, even if her hands don't move quite like they used to. A woman with a quiet smile and 1,000 stories behind her eyes. But for 5 years, she was disappearing. Not all at once, slowly, silently. She stopped going to the market, said her legs felt like sandbags. She stopped calling her sister in the evenings, said she was too tired to talk, stopped wearing makeup. What for? She'd shrug. She used to love color. Reds, purples, scarves with loud prints. Then one day, it was all beige. You know what she said to her daughter? "Maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe this is just how it goes." But her daughter saw something else. She saw the way Lydia would forget names, the way she sat in her chair for hours, staring, the way she'd say, "I didn't sleep at all last night. Again." One morning, Lydia tried to button her blouse and couldn't. Her fingers were too stiff, her hands swollen. That was the day they went to the doctor. Blood test, ECG, ultrasound, then another doctor, and another. Finally, an answer. Severe hypothyroidism. Her TSH was through the roof. Her body had been crying out for help, but she'd thought it was just age. You know what the doctor said? "This didn't start last week. This has been building for years." That night, Lydia sat in her kitchen, one hand on a teacup, the other on her chest, and she whispered, "I thought I was just fading." But she wasn't. She was starving. On the inside, because the thyroid, this tiny butterfly-shaped gland, controls everything: energy, mood, metabolism, even body temperature, and Lydia's butterfly had stopped flying. The doctor gave her a prescription, hormones in a pill, but it wasn't just the pills that helped her. It was the shift. She changed what she ate, not perfectly, not overnight, but intentionally, purposefully. She cut out things that drained her, started adding things that fed her thyroid, gave it what it had been begging for. 3 months later, her daughter called crying. "You're back," she said, because Lydia was playing again, laughing again, wearing a red scarf. She wasn't 20 again, but she wasn't vanishing either. She'd found her rhythm again, her warmth, her spark, and it all began with listening to her body and giving it what it needed. Now, let me ask you, what if your story doesn't have to end in beige? What if the tiredness, the cold hands, the extra weight, or the fog, what if they're not just age? What if they're signs? What if your butterfly is still there, just waiting for the right kind of care? Keep listening. Because next we'll dive into how this tiny gland works and how to wake it up again, gently, powerfully, from the inside out. Let's break it down. No white coats, no big words, just the truth, in plain language. Your thyroid is a small gland, shaped like a butterfly. It sits right here, at the base of your neck. But don't let the size fool you. This little butterfly is like your body's conductor. It sets the tempo, the pace, the rhythm of everything inside you. Heartbeat, body temperature, digestion, mood, memory, weight, even how fast your hair grows. Now imagine this. You're at a concert. The orchestra's ready, the instruments are tuned, but the conductor doesn't show up. The flutes come in late. The violins rush ahead. The trumpets start arguing with the drums. That's what happens inside your body when the thyroid stops doing its job. It's called hypothyroidism. And it means your thyroid isn't making enough hormones. But hormones aren't just signals. They're instructions, blueprints. The difference between a well-oiled machine and total chaos. And when those instructions stop coming, your whole system slows down. Your heart beats slower. Your stomach empties slower. Your brain processes slower. You feel cold. You gain weight. Even if you eat less, you get constipated. You forget things. You feel tired even after 10 hours of sleep. And here's the twist. It happens gradually, bit by bit. You don't notice it at first, maybe just a little fatigue, then some swelling, a few extra pounds, a mood dip here and there. Then one day, you realize you don't recognize yourself anymore. Now, why does it happen? Sometimes it's genetics. Sometimes it's triggered by stress, pregnancy, illness, radiation, autoimmune disorders. But often, it's what we eat. Or, rather, what we don't eat. Your thyroid needs certain nutrients to work. Think of them like tools in a toolbox. No iodine? The thyroid can't build hormones. No selenium? The hormones stay inactive. No zinc? The communication between your brain and thyroid breaks down. And guess what? Many common diets, especially in older adults, are low in exactly those nutrients. Too much processed food, not enough seafood, skipping breakfasts, drinking strong coffee on an empty stomach. All of it adds up. And then the butterfly slows. Here's something else no one tells you. Certain foods, even the healthy ones, can block the thyroid. Soy, cruciferous vegetables like cabbage and kale, if eaten raw and in excess. They're not dangerous in small amounts, but when your thyroid is already struggling, they can make things worse. And let's not forget sugar. Sugar inflames the body, and chronic inflammation? It's like static in the radio. The thyroid can't send a clear signal. Now here's the good news. You can't always control your genes, but you can control your plate. You can feed the butterfly. You can give it the tools it needs to rise again. Because the thyroid wants to work. It wants to sing. It wants to lead the orchestra again. Sometimes it just needs a little help. A little iodine, a little selenium, a little less coffee first thing in the morning. Tiny shifts with huge ripple effects. And that's what we're going to explore next. The foods, the habits, the simple changes that can bring your energy back, gently, naturally, and powerfully. Ready? Let's open the kitchen door. First, the breakfast mistake that nearly cost Marina her energy for good. She's 62, used to be a school librarian, woke up early, always organized, always polite. But she had this habit for years one strong black tea, empty stomach, no food until noon. "I just don't feel hungry in the mornings," she'd say. But behind that simple routine, disaster was brewing. Her thyroid was already weak. She didn't know it. And that strong tea, it was like pouring cold water on a fire, barely flickering. Tea on an empty stomach, especially strong black or green tea, blocks iron and zinc absorption. And without zinc, the thyroid can't make T3, the active hormone that fuels your cells. Over time, Marina's hair thinned. Her hands turned cold. Her joints started to ache. She thought it was arthritis, but it was her thyroid choking. Her doctor didn't ask about tea. They prescribed iron. Nothing worked. Until one smart nutritionist said, "Eat before you sip." Just one slice of boiled egg, half an avocado, a piece of fruit. It was enough. 2 weeks later, Marina felt warmer. Her hands softened. Her mind cleared. The tea wasn't the enemy. The timing was. So remember this. Always feed your body before your caffeine. Even a small bite makes a big difference. Second, the healing seed almost no one talks about. Brazil nuts. Let me tell you about Yuri. He's 70, former truck driver. Big hands, quiet eyes. He came to a community clinic saying, "I sleep too much. I forget what day it is. My jeans don't fit anymore." Blood work showed low selenium. That's the mineral your thyroid uses to activate hormones. No selenium, no spark. Like turning the key in your car and nothing happens. Now, Yuri didn't want pills. "Too many already," he said. The nutritionist smiled. "Can you eat 2 Brazil nuts a day?" He laughed. "That's it? That's it. Brazil nuts are packed with selenium, just 2 a day. Not more because too much can be toxic, and you give your thyroid exactly what it needs." 3 months later, Yuri walks in wearing a baseball cap and a new belt. "Back to 34-inch waist," he grins. He didn't change everything, just that one thing. So simple, so small, but powerful. Remember this. Your thyroid doesn't need noise. It needs support. And sometimes that support is the size of a nut. Third, the seaweed that saved Elena from total burnout. Elena is 58, worked in finance, smart, sharp, until one year everything slipped. She couldn't focus, forgot client names. Her face puffed up, her eyes looked tired. She was cold in rooms where others were sweating. She kept saying, "I don't understand what's wrong with me." Turns out, she was dangerously iodine deficient. And iodine? It's the main ingredient in thyroid hormones, like flour to bread. No iodine, no hormones. But here's the twist. She lived inland, far from the sea, never ate seafood, didn't like salt. "Salt makes my feet swell," she said. But no iodine equals no thyroid power. Her doctor gave her 2 options, supplements or food. She chose food, started sprinkling a tiny bit of dried seaweed, nori or kelp, onto her soups and salads, a pinch, like a seasoning. 2 months later, her energy was back. Her eyes were bright again. She called her sister and said, "I finally feel awake." Just from seaweed. It's that simple. But here's the warning. Never overdo iodine. Too much can be as bad as too little. A pinch a day is plenty. Or a serving of sea fish once or twice a week. So, if you live far from the ocean, listen up. Your thyroid is still dreaming of the sea. Feed it what it remembers. 3 stories, 3 changes, no big diets, no pills, just smarter choices built into life. Coming up next, we bring it all home, because healing is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. So here we are, after all the tests, the tired mornings, the quiet fears you never said out loud, you're still here. And that means you haven't given up. You've just been waiting for someone to connect the dots, to tell you that it's not all in your head, that it's not weakness, not laziness, not just aging. It's your body asking for help in the only language it knows, slowing down, fogging up, shutting off. But now you understand. This isn't the end of the story. This is the turning point. Because the thyroid can heal. It may take time, it may take patience, but it starts with listening to the small things, the food on your plate, the way your hands feel in the morning, the temperature of your feet at night, the sparkle in your voice, or the silence behind your eyes. You are not broken. You are not too old. You are not too late. Your butterfly, it's still there. Tired? Maybe. Wounded? Yes, but alive and ready to fly again with the right support, the right rhythm, the right care. So tomorrow morning, pause before the tea, add a little protein, sprinkle something from the sea, crack a Brazil nut, breathe. You don't have to fix everything at once. Just begin. One small, kind choice at a time, and before you know it, you'll feel it. That shift, that warmth returning to your fingers, that little more light behind your eyes, that voice in your head saying, I'm back, and you are. Welcome home.